Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
The Monarchy That Never Was. The Kingdom of Lithuania, 1918.
what happened?
1918? Kingdom?
We have issues with the facts already.
I mean, we had a king a long time ago, not in 1918. I don't remember that. Let's see.
When we think of Germany conquering Eastern Europe, we obviously think of World War II, but did you know that during the First World War, Germany also managed to take large swaths of Eastern European land? And here they set up puppet states. And one of these puppet states was the forgotten Kingdom of Lithuania that existed for several months in 1918. Now, the idea was that a German monarch, the Duke of Württemberg, would sit on the Lithuanian throne. But nothing came of it. This here is the story of the rise and demise of the forgotten German puppet state, the Kingdom of Lithuania. Keep watching.
You don't know
Good
this
to have you
one?
back on the channel. If you're new, I'm Stefan, Dutch history teacher, and I love to cover history, and preferably I do that partially on location. Like right now, I'm overlooking Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. If you find it interesting, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. You can support me via Patreon, PayPal, buy me coffee, or via a super thanks. After the final partition of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1795, Lithuania was absorbed into the Russian Empire.
Unless he wasn't like a king, they were trying to make him like a duke. Because we had like a whole bunch of dukes, but kings? As far as I know, we only had one king.
World War I in 1915, Germany occupied western territories of the Russian Empire, including Lithuania. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917, Germany aimed for a geopolitical plan, creating a series of puppet states to act as a buffer against Russia. As part of this strategy, Germany permitted the Vilnius Conference to take place, hoping it would declare Lithuania's desire to break away from Russia and form closer ties with Germany. And that happened in the building you see right here. In September 1917, the Conference of Vilnius included 20 Lithuanian members of the Council of Lithuania to negotiate with the Germans for a possible independence. In the main resolution of the conference, the Lithuanians defined the outlines of their planned future state, an independent, democratically organized state within ethnographic boundaries with the correctives essential for economic life, the final structure of which would have to be specified by a founding Seimas of Lithuania convened in Vilnius, democratically elected by all the people of Lithuania, and the cultural rights of ethnic minorities would be guaranteed. Germany, preparing for negotiations around the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, sought a declaration from Lithuania favoring a firm and permanent alliance with Germany. This declaration was approved by the Council of Lithuania on the 11th of December 1917. Yet it caused eternal division, and therefore for the Germans it was not enough to gain official German recognition. As a result, on the 16th of February 1918, the Council issued the Act of Independence of Lithuania, which omitted any mention of alliance with Germany and instead declared the dissolution of all ties to other nations. On the 3rd of March, Germany and Soviet Russia signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, and this left large swaths of Eastern European land, among which the Baltic states, under German influence. On the 23rd of March, the Germans officially recognized the Lithuanian independence that was declared on the 11th of December. However, the Germans continued to occupy Lithuania, and the Council of Lithuanians merely served as an advisory body by the Germans. The Lithuanian Act of Independence on February 16th also began a new period in the history of the Lithuanian nation as a state. Lithuania had been declared a state, and this was a particularly significant victory. But the reality was that it still had to be established in circumstances which were politically complex and unfavorable, and so the job of building the state began. Despite the German Kaiser recognized Lithuania's independence, he pointed out this was conditional on Lithuania maintaining very close links with Germany. There were even discussions within the German military to put Lithuania into
You did
a
say that there's similarity in terms of foods.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, yeah, Lithuania was occupied by Germans for a good minute, so there's German influences for sure. But
I
so,
didn't know Germans were there too.
yeah, in the Second World War, I believe there was a front line somewhere around there too, because my great-grandfather, he fought against the Germans so I think it was in Lithuania that the front lines were there.
union with the states of Saxony and Prussia. As for the monarch, the Duke of Württemberg, Wilhelm von Urach, had to become the constitutional monarch of Lithuania as King Mindaugas II, as a reference to King Mindaugas from the 13th century, some 700 years ago. The king and his family were required to live inside Lithuania, and they were allowed to stay outside Lithuania 2 months of the year. Also, his children had to follow Lithuanian education. There are reports that Duke Wilhelm started to learn the Lithuanian language and that he was studying the history of the country he would soon be the king of. However, he never visited the country as events overtook him, because his appointment was annulled on the 2nd of November 1918.
Interesting. I never heard this story. Well, maybe I have. I just forgot. I don't know, but I do not have like a recollection of, that I know this information. Maybe we talked about it in school. I don't know, but interesting.
I wonder.
Little fact.
I'm curious to know how the attitudes towards him as a person being from outside Lithuania that has no like Lithuanian ancestry, becoming the lead, having the role as a king.
I don't think it was good because obviously we were seeking independence.
Yeah.
And we seeking independence, and these motherfuckers come over and like, oh, here's the king for you. The fuck out of here, your king.
What's the point of
That
fighting?
I'm pretty sure that was the outlook back then, and guess what? That never happened. So yeah, well, independence also was short-lived, but
When it was clear that Germany was losing the war. With now both the Russian and German Empire gone, it seemed there were new opportunities for the Lithuanian nationalists. Preparations were made to accommodate the return of hundreds of thousands of Lithuanians that had fled the war of violence to Russia. Eventually,
its location makes it very difficult because you can have a threat coming immediately on one side and another on the opposing side. So it's like you don't have a kind of like a break to have like a wall like on your back, so you can kind of like, okay,
yeah, have to pick a side, either one. Like we were too small of a nation to just ignore. We had to either pick one or the. Well, it wasn't like we pick. We got picked. Whichever nation occupied the territory. But yeah.
195,000 people returned to Lithuania up to January 1922. On the 2nd of November 1918, the council adopted the interim constitution.
From Russia, they went. The Lithuanians that were held in Russia, they went back to Lithuania.
Yeah, I guess they fled, he said, to Russia.
The day the armistice of World War I came into effect, November 11th, the new Lithuanian cabinet started to operate. After years of war, the guns finally fell silent on November 11th, 1918. However, a powder keg exploded in Central and Eastern Europe. As old empires crumbled, new states emerged. There were wars between these states, as well as civil wars and wars of independence. In the years after the First World War, Lithuania was to become a battlefield where Lithuanians, Poles, Germans, Reds, and Whites fought with and against each other. This is collectively known as the Lithuanian Wars of Independence. And did you know that the Kingdom of Lithuania was not the only German client state that was set up in the First World War? Click here to learn about the Kingdom of Poland, and here for the events that occurred in Finland around that time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Interesting video, yeah.
I wonder the recovery process of Lithuania, because if it was the battlefield for all these wars, the recovery was quite well done.
Well, part of Soviet Union, the Russians, I guess, build up their infrastructure, so a lot of what remained when it actually did become independent was old Soviet infrastructure. And since we got into the EU, it's becoming more Western, but it's taking time. That period with part of the Soviets, I guess in one sense, they did build up whatever was burned down, but at the same time, compared like Eastern Europe, for example, to Western Europe, you can see that the growth has been stagnant, and they're only catching up. They're not at the same place where they could have been, because of the communism that was there. So,
Into the comments.
Lithuania is such a fascinating small country. I will say this, even my bias aside, I do feel like for such a small country, there's a lot of history there. Yeah, like the country was once the biggest country in Europe.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, like for the
cool.
size of the country, it's definitely a lot of interesting facts. Thanks for this history. I've always wondered about this Lithuanian kingdom. That's not the real Lithuanian kingdom. The real Lithuanian kingdom was a long time ago. There was a proposal to reinstate a Polish monarchy with Archduke Charles Stefan, I guess, of Austria as a candidate.
In history class, I don't think I've heard anything for Lithuania.
Here?
Yeah. Mostly
best
when we think of the East, we think of like Russia, Poland.
best case scenario, you had like 1 day you spent on it. You
Yeah.
probably spent, oh, that's time period, what
Mm-hmm.
was Europe look like? They mentioned Lithuania, or like Polish Lithuania, Duchy over there, Grand
Mm-hmm.
Duchy, whatever, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Because I'm always impressed when someone knows about Lithuania.
Mm.
Because I'm curious, how do you know about Lithuania?
How do I know about Lithuania?
Well, not you, people in general.
Um, yeah, I do think, now that I think about it, I do think there was like a
Yeah.
Lithuanian Polish, you know,
Mm-hmm.
territory. There was mentioned that in the books, but definitely here in the States, not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time is spent on that. Whereas in, like,
Mm-hmm.
in Lithuania, literally the whole fucking year is spent on what happened like in the 1400s, 1500s,
Yeah.
and that type of, yeah, you drill that
I
stuff.
I think what's interesting is that if someone does know about Lithuania, they know a lot.
Yeah, and conversely too, from the other way, like coming here, I didn't really know nothing about American history. I really,
Mm-hmm.
we don't. I'm sure, like in history classes, there is like a
Mm-hmm.
chapter or whatever about American history, but it's really not focused.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
Makes
talk
sense.
about what happened, but when you come here, you take the history, like, oh shit, I
Has
didn't
a
know
lot
none
on
of
it.
that. Yeah, so it makes sense that the local history is more focused.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other interesting comments?
It was an informative, also independence for, or
Because
otherwise
there's
Blessed
no one
Wars.
saying in the comments 1918. Because you were like 1918. Hmm.
Prince of Wales. Uh, no, nobody's. I yeah, it was. I
Mm-hmm.
was. I don't. I don't recall the story. If I have learned about it, I really don't recall it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Okay. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And always, always, always share as much kindness as possible.